why don't we just scrap the rainbow, scrap the Bible verse, and just wear Dodgers caps? Sports can't just be sports anymore. Sports have to reflect the culture wars. People weren't happy that the Dodgers went to the White House. Didn't set well with many on the left. Why do we want the Los Angeles Dodgers or any other professional team to weigh in on political and cultural matters? Let's begin with the Los Angeles Dodgers and Shohei Ohtani returning to the mound last night for the first time since August of 2023 at Dodger Stadium against the San Diego Padres, pitching, well, just the first inning. Shohei Ohtani throwing 28 pitches in his first appearance as a pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers. It's the only thing that he hasn't done as a Dodger to this point. 50-50 season, check. MVP award, check. World Series champions, check. And now finally, oh, by the way, let's remember he is the modern Babe Ruth. And he can pitch as well. And the stat line was not impressive if you look at it. He pitched one inning, gave up one run, as I said, 28 pitches, and out of there. It was clear that he wasn't going to pitch a lot because he can't go on rehab assignments because he's got to be the most dangerous batter in the National League as well. So there's no opportunity to stretch him out down in the minor leagues, but he looked really, really good, throwing a couple of pitches 100 miles an hour, topping out at 100.2 last night as I was watching the Dodgers broadcast, and that was the second fastest pitch thrown by a Dodgers pitcher during the 2025 season. So the stuff is clearly there for Shohei Ohtani. You can see how impressive he is. Obviously, it's going to take him a minute to get back into mid-season form, but I'm here for it. He clearly remembers how to pitch, and man, how many people can go 50-50 and they have a 100-mile-an-hour fastball? You tell me, man. He is a marvel. The only thing that disappointed me when he left the game is that the relief pitcher didn't come to the mound in a bullpen cart. Can we bring these back? Please? What do we have to do to get these back in the mix again? You can see here, bring back bullpen carts. If we're going to have 43 pitching changes a game, let's at least do it correctly and have some fun with it. More relief pitchers than ever. Teams taking 6, 7 pitchers to get through 9 innings in a regular season game. And that is not an uncommon occurrence if you're following Major League Baseball in modern times. Let's at least send them out to the mound right. Can we do that? The Mariners used to have a fucking boat that they sent relievers to the mound with. So, happiness at Dodger Stadium last night, but not everybody is happy with the Los Angeles Dodgers. No, because you realize in the day in which we live, sports can't just be sports anymore. Sports have to reflect the culture wars. And we've seen teams in all sports buying in to these things. We were talking earlier about Pride Month and NFL teams and which NFL teams are going to observe it and which NFL teams aren't. And we're down to single-digit teams in the NFL now, I believe, that have not done something for Pride Month. It's become a common occurrence. There are ethnicity nights at various arenas and stadiums and so forth. And while these things, I'm sure, are well-intentioned, the cynical part of you also wonders if these teams aren't really interested in cashing in on jersey sales and merchandise. Why do we have an expectation now that our sports teams weigh in on the political and cultural issues of the day? I'm an old school guy. I liked it better when sports was a refuge from whatever was going on in the world, and you would tune in the ball game partly to tune out all of the other noise that you were hearing in your life about whatever it was that people are bickering about or arguing across the dinner table over. People weren't happy, some, that the Dodgers went to the White House to accept recognition for winning the World Series last year. It didn't set well with many on the left that they went and accepted congratulations from President Trump. There are those that are saying that the Dodgers have been conspicuously silent on the ICE deportations. People wanting the Dodgers to come out. Obviously, a very heavily Latino community out there, the Dodger fan base. Why haven't the Dodgers said something about that? Some are saying, well, why should they comment on these things? Why do we want the Los Angeles Dodgers or any other professional team to weigh in on political and cultural matters? Is it really necessary? We had a singer, you may have heard, who was going to do the national anthem at Dodger Stadium just a couple of days ago over the weekend. She chose to sing it in Spanish, despite being instructed by the Dodgers not to do that. And that became a political moment. You may have seen Clayton Kershaw going viral on social media for putting a Bible verse from Genesis on his cap as the Dodgers were participating in Pride Night there. And you can see the rainbow Dodgers logo and Clayton Kershaw putting a Bible verse on there. Do we need any of this? Why don't we just scrap the rainbow, scrap the Bible verse, and just wear Dodgers caps? There's a novel thought. Remember when the uniform was just the uniform and everybody wore the same uniform and the focus was on playing baseball rather than signaling what your political or cultural affiliations or beliefs were? Believe whatever you want to believe. That's America. And put yourself out there however you want to, but for my money, I prefer sports when they're just sports. And I prefer my halftime shows to be little Chinese ladies riding on unicycles and kicking fine china onto their head. Have you ever seen this woman? I never even knew her name. She's known as Red Panda. Is it the same woman that does it everywhere? This lady, Tim? What do you know about her? You seem to be
she's incredible.
A Red Panda
I first saw her
fan.
in DC. I first saw her in DC about 10 or 12 years ago. She's incredible.
I saw her at halftime of a Bulls game a number of years ago, maybe 10 years ago. One of the most astonishing things I've ever seen in person in my life. This woman. It's unbelievable. How often does she fuck up? Is there footage out there of her fucking up? Because I have how do you do that?
Very little.
How's that
very
even
little.
Possible?
Yeah, very little. She's
How
done
is
it
that
live.
Possible?
Yeah, just a lot of practice. Remember, she went viral in San Francisco when they stole her scooter and they stole her unicycle, and the team rallied behind her and was able to buy all that. So, yeah, never dropped one, man.
Well,
never dropped one.
Nice.
She's done it live for Van Pelt. I think her record is 7. But, people last night after, at that Pacers game saying she should be in the Hall of Fame. Certainly McAfee was not happy when he saw her doing her thing at halftime. He felt like it was a bad omen.
Yeah, McAfee, it's not good when you're on the road trying to win a crucial game and this lady comes out and starts doing shit like that, getting the crowd all pumped up. She's a home court advantage wherever she goes, this woman, isn't she? Look at that, hitting the 5 bowler, as McAfee notes. Couldn't have been a good sign for the Pacers, and indeed it was not. The Pacers going down in Oklahoma City. They are now 3-2 down, and they obviously have a must-win game coming up to try to send this thing to 7 games. I think the Thunder are just too damn good. 40 from Jalen Williams last night, 31 from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The Thunder looking more and more like they're going to close this thing out. We'll see. One thing we've seen from this Pacers team is they will fight their ass off, and Game 6 in Indianapolis, they're going to give it everything that they've got to try to stretch this thing out to Game 7, and they might just do it. But I think they're a little outgunned against this Oklahoma City team. Stephen A. Smith, well, he hasn't found the NBA Finals to be as compelling as you might imagine from all of his very opinionated takes that he has. Have a look at this. Stephen A. Smith locked in for the NBA Finals, playing some solitaire on his phone. That's the most old man thing that I've ever seen Stephen A do. Stephen A's always presenting himself as with it and current and knows what's going on. But guess what? He's over 50. He's going to enjoy a little solitaire on his phone while in the building. And you know what happens when Stephen A wins? If my memory of playing solitaire on the old Windows 95 holds, you're going to see some of that action, right? How satisfying was that? After laboring through solitaire at your computer for a while, you finally win one. That was a moment right there. I'm telling you right now, I'm getting residual satisfaction just from seeing it.
Those graphics were amazing.
If you're enjoying this kind of content, Tim, what should people do if they're enjoying this kind of content? What do you recommend, Tim?
I recommend they get over to OutKick.com/newsletters and sign up for the Rickie Cobb Rewind. The sweet bastards, get over there. Yeah.
Goddamn right. OutKick.com/newsletters. Sign up for it every 2 weeks. Straight to your inbox. Stuff that you're not going to find anywhere else. The margarita mailbag. I'm captioning your photos. It's craziness. Thank you so much for all the good feedback we've gotten on it. But sign up. The more the merrier.
I've already sent you an email, Rickie. I want to know if Red Panda should be in the Hall of Fame. I really think if the NBA were with it, they would jump on that pretty quickly.
Red Panda, she might be an inner circle Hall of Famer. This woman, is it just basketball games? Is that her shtick? That
she needs a hard court.
Basketball. Yeah, she's got to have. She's not gonna. Maybe Astro. Could she get around on Astro?
I don't think she could.
Windy, yeah. You got to watch out with the wind.
Maybe the U.S. Open tennis. U.S. Open tennis.
Yeah, the wind. Yeah, the wind's got to be a problem there for her, I would think.
It's hard to light up 8 bowls in the wind.
Oh my God! Wow. Let's go back to Stephen A for a second. Stephen A is it hasn't been the best week for Stephen A because halftime of the game last night he said, well, he didn't mean what he said. Let's just listen to him.
Haliburton has looked awful, and I'm glad he's injured. I'm not saying I'm glad he's injured, but I'm glad we got that as the rationale.
Haliburton's looked awful. I'm glad he's injured. But I don't mean I'm glad. Stephen A meant that he's glad that Haliburton has a good excuse for the way that he played because he was playing through a sore right calf, we are told, in the second half of the game, and he aggravated it. So we'll see what happens. What his status is for Game 6 is going to obviously be hugely important to the Indiana Pacers' fortunes. And Stephen A, hey, look, we've all been there. I misspeak at least once a show, so I got you, buddy. I know how it is.
Your girl, Angel Reese.
Yes.
Yeah. She's filed an application for a trademark of MEBOUNDS.
Oh, boy.
Who in the right mind would buy any merch with MEBOUNDS on it? It's not positive.
Well,
I don't get it.
She says they're all for her. They're all for her.
And she's cute. Oh, and she's cute. Remember that? She said she was cute.
Well, if you don't believe you, Ronnie, just listen to her, right? Yeah.
But
I don't know. She's just, Ron, I don't know, man. It's like I try, for someone who has criticized her on the show as much as I have, like I try to like look at her like through like a lens where I can like see more positivity. And that's why I've said, hey, look, there are some pieces to her game. She could be better if she works on her weaknesses. And every time I try to kind of take a Angel Reese at least somewhat friendly position, she just comes out and says or does something that just makes me think, no, that ain't it. Don't do that. So now if she's going to try to make MEBOUNDS a thing, and it's like taking it, you can't do, it doesn't work, right? Like if somebody called you like booger eater or something,
right.
You can't like turn around and like apply for the trademark to booger eater. Yeah. Well, I'll show you.
I'm a booger eater.
I
We'll
like
start
it, man.
printing up Booger Eater T-shirts.
I like it. It's another thorn in her crown. It's another thorn in her crown.
Her
She's
heavy
making
crown.
it hers.
Her heavy crown.
Yeah.
I guess
Her
it
heavy crown.
is.
Her heavy
Well,
crown.
her crown might not be so heavy if she didn't pick up everything that weighed something and put it on top of her head, because it seems like that's what she does. She's one of these people who can't get out of their own way. And I think it's because she's so hungry for attention that ultimately overrides whatever aspects of her fame don't set well with her. I'm sure she doesn't like the criticism. Who does? Who likes having horrible things said about them? But I think the trade-off is she loves the fame so much that she needs to stop complaining, because if you are such an attention seeker, these things are going to go with it, and you might as well stop complaining about it, because otherwise you create the kind of persona that she has crafted. And, I know she has her core constituency of fans, but for the rest of us, I think we find it off-putting. It's always a pleasure to welcome my guest to this program. He is the Spanish voice of the New York Yankees and the Philadelphia Eagles, a very busy man and also one of the most talented men in sports broadcasting. He is, of course, Rickie Ricardo. Rickie, how are you?
Good to be with you, Rickie, on a just ugly Tuesday in the New York area. Ugly weather-wise and ugly offensively for the New York Yankees lately.
Well, the Yankees on a 4-game losing skid right now. Still the second best record in the American League. We're approaching the halfway point. We can at least sort of see it looming out about a week and a half away from us. The Yankees 42-29. Obviously 2.5 games up in the American League East. All in all, pretty solid season so far. Where we're at right now, Rickie. Giancarlo coming back. Stanton in the lineup last night, going 2 for 4. Aaron Judge cooling off a little bit. What's the state of the New York Yankees here as we're about halfway through the month of June?
Well, you just said, Aaron Judge has cooled off a little bit, and he's still hitting in the upper 380s and, low 390s. So it's just been an unbelievable ride with him for these first 2.5 months. Now, you've had some other guys that were hot at the beginning that have cooled off. Goldschmidt has gone down about 40 points in his batting average in the last month. Some of the youngsters like Volpe and Dominguez, they've kind of hit the skids a little bit. Ben Rice, maybe he's cooled off a little bit. Austin Wells, who was up in the lineup hitting 4th, 5th, they've dropped him to 8th now because, his bat's kind of slowed down a little bit. I think it's the natural twists and turns and ups and downs of a baseball season. It's a roller coaster ride and a long one, as you know. But this team is going through it right now, as all teams do. They went to Kansas City last week, swept the Royals, and that was coming off of losing 2 out of 3 at home to the Boston Red Sox. They go to Kansas City, and it looked like we had, righted all their ills, although the last game was a 1-0, but Clark Schmidt had been pitching, just great ball, and last night we saw him again with nothing but zeros. But then they get to Fenway over the weekend. They get swept there. Judge with a big home run, but that's really all he did all weekend. He struck out 9 times in 12 at-bats and then hit into a big double play when they had a couple of runners on late in the game on Sunday. To round this out, Rickie, so far, as Aaron Judge goes, so go the New York Yankees. And when he is not at his best, this team tends to struggle a little bit. Now, you mentioned Giancarlo Stanton's return last night. That's a big component to this lineup. It extends the lineup a little bit more. Giancarlo, who was the MVP of this team in the postseason last year, it usually takes him a few days to get his rhythm and timing back, but he looked okay last night, hit a couple of balls very, very hard. It's usually all or nothing with him. There's a lot of swings and misses, or if you're on the defensive side, hope your medical insurance is paid for, because that ball's coming at you pretty hard from Giancarlo Stanton. So getting him back into the mix is another element for this team, and I think hopefully tonight against an age-old pitching staff that is, so-so, they can get the offense back on track.
Rickie, you referenced the Red Sox sweep of the Yankees over the weekend, and the Red Sox fans didn't have a lot of time to get very psyched up about that because a lot of folks in Boston are not happy about the surprising move, the blockbuster deal for Buster Posey and the San Francisco Giants. Anyway, Posey, the Giants president of baseball operations, going out and putting together a package to get Rafael Devers from Boston, consisting Kyle Harrison is, I suppose, the highlight of the package. They get a pretty good young minor league outfielder named James Tibbs that was the first-round pick of the Giants last year, Jordan Hicks, and another minor leaguer making their way to Boston. How surprised were you when you heard about this deal, and how do you feel about it as a Yankees guy, and how would you feel about it if you were a fan of the Boston Red Sox?
I thought it was interesting, Rickie, that this deal got announced literally a couple of hours after a Father's Day weekend series against the Yankees, where the place was electric. It kind of rejuvenated the franchise. Winning 5 out of 6 in a span of 10 days for the Red Sox kind of gave them a shot in the arm. They had more than 36,000 sellouts at Fenway, which it's not the same as it was years ago when it was an automatic sellout. It was enthusiastic. They had full houses. I can only imagine, Rickie, if they would have announced this trade, let's say last Thursday, how many Red Sox fans would have burnt their tickets for the weekend series against the Yankees as a backlash. So I thought the timing was peculiar that they waited for the 3 games to finish. The team was about to take off for the furthest point north and west of Boston, Massachusetts. They were going to Seattle with the Red Sox. So the timing of the whole thing and the way it went down, I thought was peculiar. Now, Rafael Devers is the active player with the most home runs hit against the Yankees, 31. He has been a Yankee killer. He's hit off starters. He's hit off relievers. He's hit off the bat. Anybody that's thrown a pitch to Devers in a Yankee uniform, he's terrorized them, from Garrett Cole to Aroldis Chapman. His last at bat on Sunday against Yankee pitching, he hits a home run over the monster seats in left center field at Fenway to give him an insurance run. So we won't miss him, obviously. Yankees won't see him until they play the Giants again next year. They've already had their series with San Francisco this season in New York. So we'll see Devers again in San Francisco next season. So let him go terrorize the Mets or somebody else in the National League, for the remainder of this season. But was I shocked? Absolutely. The timing of it peculiar. I know he's had, some things going on with the general manager, Breslow, and the owner, John Henry. That meeting didn't go well, supposedly. You hear all kind of things when you talk to Red Sox people, and none of it was pretty good. None of it was positive. So that the trade went down in itself isn't as surprising as how it did and when it did.
So Rafael Devers, as I incorrectly called him Devers yesterday, Devers, traded to the Giants, Rickie. Okay. Well, this weekend was City Connect jerseys for the Red Sox. And we know what that means, right? They want to sell lots of
ugly jerseys is what that means.
Right,
yeah.
But they want to sell lots of them, right? Well, guess what? The $225 number 11 flying off the shelves. Some are saying they waited to trade them until Sunday because they didn't want to get stuck with all those jerseys. And then they conveniently, are you ready for this, Rickie? They have a policy at their team store that says they will not accept returns on any jerseys of players that no longer play for them.
Well, that's a tough break for the folks that dropped. What did you say they were? 200 and
225.
225. Well, that's what you get for buying a Rafael Devers jersey.
An ugly
that's
one.
That's a mistake. That's what you get for buying a City yeah. If you're the person who was like, I want a green Red Sox jersey with the asshole's name on the back. Well, I guess you get what you pay for. I used to look for the marked down jerseys here in Chicago.
Yeah,
I was going to buy a Cubs jersey.
They're just throwbacks.
I would
they're
just,
throwbacks.
I'd find somebody that had been gone for a couple of years. I don't,
Yeah.
I don't care. 70% off. It doesn't matter to me.